Across from Roman.
That's Hogan and Bundy.
All right, and next to Hogan and Bundy,
That's Ventura and Adonis, I think.
under
Yep.
underneath,
Mil
underneath,
Mas, Mil Masquerade superstar Billy Graham.
and on the other side.
We're live. All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monte and the Pharaoh, where we're shooting from location. Mike Monte in his man cave, Jimmy Pharaoh always in Wahoo's saloon, and as a fill-in producer tonight, we've got ESO Bruce, who I just got done yelling at in the last 10 minutes.
Oh, the poor guy. I was throwing out all sorts of hypotheses. Well, if it's off a laptop, in the past I've had to switch to the phone and blah 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 blah. Poor Bruce.
Yeah, I know Bruce doesn't deserve it, but you know what? If anyone doesn't know, the reason I'm on location is because the great producer Abe has left the show. We knew it was eventually coming, right, Jimmy? Because he had moved to Queens and driving all the way to Long Island was not the easiest thing for him. Unfortunately, he gave me notice 2 days before our show. So, Jimmy, anything you would like to say to Abe before we continue on the show?
Yeah. Well, you remember when I left to go to Florida? Abe gave me a big giant hug, and you were like, "Okay, you two, break it up."
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I liked Abe a lot as a person. I think that like if I had been a younger man and we were in school, we'd probably be buddies. Abe had a really good heart. Uh, 2 days notice though, Abe. Come on, bro. All right, I got my little shot in. What are you gonna do? But Abe was great. Abe was great. I know he loved doing the show. I'll miss his laughter. We've had other producers, but Abe actually, he was paying attention. He would laugh. He would laugh his ass off. He was engaged. I think that he did love the show.
I mean,
He's a
Jimmy,
young
we
man, and if
had
opportunity knocks, you move on. He's a young man. He's got a lot more to do in his life. But I was glad he was around. He was great.
well in the original studio, if everybody remembers, like our first studio, the owner used to do the shows, and then as the show was progressing, we had to get out of there, right? We had to get better producers.
Right.
And when we went to Indie Music Studio, um, even though they were a studio, right, Jimmy, they had new guys that
Right. Yeah.
weren't like didn't know this whole thing, and it's amazing because a lot of these guys go to school. And
Right.
then we had what was the first guy's name, dude? I forget now. We got it
Well,
now.
the first was Maddie. We had Matty Ice.
Matty. That's right, Matty Ice. Yeah.
Yeah, we had Matty Ice. Matty did a pretty good job for a long time. I think that the stress of this show. Look, this show is not. This is a show. All
Yeah.
right. There's a lot of serious stuff laid into this. Production wise, we want it to look as good as possible. There's a lot of pressure that comes with that. I think eventually Matt got burnt out from it, and he moved on. He's a kid. Again, he's a kid. After that, we had Spidey, but you remember the whole in between with Spidey because we had to deal with other people trying to tell you they could do it and they couldn't do it. And it was an absolute mess. And then walked that kid Spidey, and my Spidey senses tingled. I said, Mike, you see that kid over there? I think he's the guy. And
Yeah.
Spidey was great too. But again, he's a young kid, and life, opportunities come up or whatever. And again, we're a high pressure show. It's not easy to do what Bruce is doing right now or what you've been doing in the past
Well,
when we don't have an Abe in the
to
wings.
be fair, I mean, if I could just give anybody an inside look, but Bruce, were you here for Spidey at first, or were you straight into Ape?
But the fans can't hear you. Don't talk for too long, right, Mike? But to those of folks at home going, what the fuck did he just say? Bruce doesn't really recall Spidey as much as the transfer moments, but Spidey did come in, and Spidey was great for a while, and then we started to see Abe. And I remember when we were talking about it, I was like, you did ask me point blank because you always ask me about the important shit. You were like, hey, who do you think really loves doing this or wants this? And I said it's Abe. I said Abe definitely enjoyed doing the show. Got himself involved. He was getting better and better too, Mike. That's the shame of it. He was
Right.
he was punching in a lot of photos. You could see that he was doing it, getting better and better at it. I know he always enjoyed our sense of humor. That I appreciate a lot. But Abe was a good guy. But onward we go. I'm sure. We've got obviously some things in the works, right?
Again, the pressure we would put on shows, right? We put a lot of
Yeah,
pressure on Jimmy. Would look at the format of the pictures, but the problem
yeah,
is we train these guys, and like Abe, like finally he knew every kind of transition between our discussions. He
right,
knew where to throw in pictures where we might not have set up for,
right,
and
right.
But anyway,
But
long story short, the best to Abe.
oh yeah,
Jimmy and I'm talking to the studio right now. They're talking about like they have some producers. They're talking about putting us on Wednesdays, which we're not exactly thrilled with. But before I got in here, Jimmy, he thinks Thursdays are going to work. So hopefully we stay on our Thursday slot
okay.
where we own it. Bruce, not to throw a uh, thing in your setup here, but I just wanted to cover something with Jimmy. Being from Long Island, Jimmy, just recently, a Southern State Parkway crash kills a 9-year-old boy. His mother, the driver, is suspected of a DUI. Islip, New York. A woman suspected of driving under the influence crashed while going the wrong way on the Southern Parkway and killed her 9-year-old son. Here's the thing. Um, a cop saw her going the wrong way, started chasing her in the Southern State, right, with her lights
Hmm.
on, and they were both going the wrong way, and she wouldn't pull over. She sped up. So he had to get off, and by the time he went around to try to cut her off, she had already crashed into 4 cars. Fortunately for the people that she crashed into, they lived. Unfortunately, her 9-year-old son passed away. Uh, I don't understand the whole going on the wrong side of the road, dude. Like, I can imagine it happening. Obviously, she was drunk, but um, I just don't get it.
All right. Well, for those of you who don't live on Long Island, Southern State Parkway is a death trap. It's always been a death trap if you're going the right way, right, Mike? That's a
Yeah.
bad parkway. Um, I don't know what made her do that. Obviously, did she die in all of this, or did just the child?
No, just a child. She lived. Isn't that the
All
way it
right.
always works?
Yeah. Well, congratulations. You got yourself ripped, got behind the wheel. It's bad enough you got behind the wheel, but you endangered your own kid, and now your kid is gone, and you get to live with that the rest of your life, probably rotting away in a jail cell. Well done, asshole. Right? I mean, at the end of the day, well done, asshole. Uh, I've always hated the Southern state. Ironically, the Northern state's what took my stepkid Alana years back by Wolf Hill Road. The parkways are dangerous, man. I use them, when I have to, but I used to try to take the LIE, or I'd even take back streets. Hell, when I'd go to Kings Park, I wouldn't go anywhere near the LIE or the Northern or the Southern. I would just hit Jericho and do a bunch of back roads, safer. You know, it
I,
sucks.
I agree with you, dude. Especially now, I try not even to drive at night anymore because people are going a million miles an hour. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, well, you know what? I waited for it for a while to happen, and it's finally starting to happen because now I have a different commute and a different workplace, and I'm going to some busy areas, and I'm starting to notice there's a lot of assholes here too, bro. At first, I didn't really see too many, but there are, and they're driving like they're from New York. So like now I have to readjust back to New York mindset. You know what I mean? You got to protect yourself. You drive, defensive driving is encouraged, but if you drive defensively, you can get yourself killed. You really can. Sometimes going too slow will get your ass killed because somebody else has something else in mind, and they'll run you right the hell over, slam right into you.
Do you find it? Now that we're older, Jimmy, right? definitely two-way personalities, right? But do you find it now that that old lion, young lion thing is falling into place where you find yourself driving slower? Do you find yourself a little less aggressive, or a lot less aggressive? How's that working for you?
I'm a lot less. I'm a lot less aggressive. But I also think that comes with the turf. Most of the area that I live around, I don't. There's no need, and most people have that mindset here. There's no need to drive like an asshole. There's no need to go super fast. You'll get to where you're going to get to. Everybody, calm the fuck down. So I do give credit to that mindset around here. But like I said, though, where I'm working now is over by the tourists, and a lot of people are not even from around here, and it's very crowded over where I'm working nowadays. So you got all these people that are from out of state, and they're just renting, vehicles and flying around and getting drunk. And believe me, they're getting drunk. I can tell you that. I'm the guy selling
Mm.
them. I'm the guy selling them the booze. I cannot believe how much alcohol is consumed down here in the vacation spots. I'm like, cause I'm running that warehouse. I'm like, oh my god, when shift I'm on. I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. Everybody's getting hammered. I've seen cops pulling people over. They rent these carts. They're almost like golf carts, right, Mike? And the tourists come in and they rent these things out. I love the place's motto: "Rent it like you stole it." That's a hell of a motto, man. I was looking at that.
That's
I'm like, rent it, ride it like you stole it. Ride it like you stole it. You rent it from them,
Dude, there's
and
the secret to life is this, man. People want their liquor, they want their sex, and they want
right,
their drugs, and they want their money, right? So no matter
right.
how broke people are, they're still gonna drink their booze, they're
Right.
still gonna try to have sex, and
Right.
they're still gonna
Dude, I
gamble,
think I
right?
told you one. I think I told you one time in a church, no less. A very cool guy said to me, "Everybody's just concerned about. I'll keep this clean. Everybody's just concerned about their penises and their vaginas," which I just thought was one of the most hilarious things I've ever heard in my life. And I heard it in a church. I was like, "Oh my god, that's priceless." But you're right. But you're right. As far as the tourists go, you just summed it all up. They want their sex, they want their drugs, and they want to have a real fast, fun time. And I can't say I blame them, but
No,
just don't be driving on the wrong side of the road, you jackass. And if you're too drunk, hand the keys over to somebody who drank water that night or O'Doul's. Use your brain a
damn
little bit.
straight, damn straight.
Jeez. Ugh.
Little wrestling
Anyway.
news, Jimmy. Chris Jericho pushes back on criticism of recent AEW gimmick. Please retire, champ. Chants have been coming out. Chris Jericho pushes back on criticism. What are your thoughts
Wow.
on that?
Yeah, what's my thoughts on that? You know where that started, don't you? That started with you and me. I said that how long ago? Now it's
Right.
fashionable. I said it a while back. Uh, look, I hate that is going towards Chris, but Chris has got to realize something. Okay, you got to be in shape. You got to look the part. He still talks the part. He still is Chris Jericho. He still has a tremendous aura, but he's out of shape, and it shows. And it's like, Chris, how can you just forget about what got you there in the first place? I understand you're older and you want to slow down a little bit with all the weightlifting and the working out, but that was part of your perfect package that you perfected under Vince McMahon. What? Why would you get away from that,
Dude,
Chris?
you know what, Jimmy? I got to disagree with you there. I think Chris Jericho has severely at this point tarnished his wrestling career.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I do believe that it's gone from. I do believe he's chipping away at it this way, but he's not. Look, it's not going to reverse all the great things that Chris Jericho did for the first 20 years of his career. It's not. And if it does to some, I almost feel bad for them.
Oh, wait a minute,
All
wait a minute.
right.
How do you say that, right? Because again, Vince McMahon used to say about like WrestleManias and pay-per-views, he goes, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter how it starts, it doesn't matter it's in the middle. It matters what people remember at the end. Don't you
Okay.
think that
No,
this is
no,
what people remember Chris
no,
Jericho as?
no. I'll tell you why. All right. And here's where I'll expose how marky I am and how much respect I have for a person's body of work. All right. If that was the case, then Joe Namath would remembered for the way he finished, which was horrendous. Horrendous. Matter of fact, one of the worst seasons in the history of professional quarterbacks is Joe's last season for the New York Jets, where he was horrendous. 4 touchdowns, 16 interceptions, something terrible, something absolutely awful. His last game as a Jet was a 0.0 rating. This is the greatest quarterback in New York Jets history and absolutely a Hall of Famer. he's remembered as such. I refuse to believe that Chris Jericho turning into Joe Namath on the LA Rams in his last 2 years of his career should take a giant shit on and erase all those other things. Because at the end of the day, and maybe one day we'll have an episode about our all-time favorite wrestlers, Jericho's going to stay in my top 10. He's
All right,
going
so
to
let
stay
me let
there,
me challenge you. Is completely
you know?
honest. Be completely
Yeah,
honest here, okay? I'll give
sure.
you a name of somebody and tell me what's the first thing that comes into your mind. Okay?
Okay,
Are you
all
ready?
right, sure.
To the best of your ability, Willie Mays.
Willie Mays playing for the Mets at the end.
Thank you. And that's my point. That's what I loved Willie Mays, but
Yeah,
that's what I remember.
but yeah, that's what I remember. But I also, when I think of Willie Mays overall, I'm always going to think of that catch he pulled off and his 660 career home runs, and the fact
Mhm.
that when he came back to the Mets, by the way, he did come back as an old man on the Mets. Where did the team go? It went to the World
Oh,
Series.
absolutely,
All right.
absolutely,
Well,
right.
it's fine. It's fine. Look, am I happy about what Jericho's doing? No, I was the first one to call him out. Retire, Chris. Stop it. Or go away for a while, hit the gym, and come back and have people look at you and go, shit. Because it does matter in Chris Jericho's package. And I'm surprised Jericho has been so aloof about his physical conditioning. It's part of his package. It always has been. Look, Lionheart was in great shape. Jericho at WWE was in great shape. I don't like seeing him like this, bro.
I hate it. I hate it, and I'm just like, call it a day, bro. You got to hang this up.
Yeah, well, I agree. I mean, if he wants to push back, maybe he should say to himself, why are they saying this to
Mm.
me? You got to look within sometimes. Look, if you hear something often enough, you should take a serious look at it. I mean, some of those people, not all of them, Chris, that are yelling, please retire, are Jericho haters. Some of us are just, we love you. It's like, what are you doing?
But
I didn't want to see I
hang
didn't
up
want
the
to see Ric
cleats.
Flair at 73, bro. You know what I mean? I didn't want to see
Agreed.
Ric Flair. I didn't want to see it. Okay.
Agreed.
There you go.
CM Punk feels bad for young stars in WWE NXT. CM Punk has clearly been very invested in the young talent over in NXT since his return to the WWE. And even top names like Roxanne Perez claim he goes the extra lengths to help them develop. Punk recently appeared at the Fanatics Fest in NYC. Well, by the way, Jimmy, talk about a travesty. I'm looking at some people at the Fanatics Fest, forget the wrestlers, there were actors. Mark Hamill was charging $500 for an autograph, dude. Again, we did this whole rant on AJ Lee. It's like, think about
What did
all the
Mike?
future.
Mike, I gotta interject. What did it say at his table? May your credit card be with you.
Dude. Uh, Again, aspiring actor, aspiring wrestler. I mean, we talked about AJ Lee. AJ Lee was broke. She lived in an apartment with her mother who had no money. And if the day she met Lita that changed her life, Lita the wrestler who was probably charging $10 or $5, I don't have no idea. If Lita was charging $499 like AJ Lee may never have become a wrestler. I mean,
Right.
again, Mark Hamill. Yeah, may the credit card be with you, bro. One of the greatest movies of all time, Star Wars, guys. These are fans that are loyal to you, have spent millions. Who knows how much money these fans have spent on you, and you got
Yep.
the audacity to spend $500. Are you
Yep.
serious right now?
Well, you know what though? If that's what happens, if somebody decides to pay that price, they're the dum dums doing it. I guess
Wait a minute. Let me ask you a question.
doesn't make it right.
Who's your greatest hero besides your dad as an athlete or whatever actor athlete?
Wow. Oh my God. Jesus, Mike. I would probably say, how I feel about Thurman Munson. Um, and you know how I feel about John Lennon and Jim Morrison. And I'm trying to pick somebody in movies that I
So
absolutely,
let me ask you this question. Jim
yeah,
Morrison's still with us. He's
never.
75 years old.
No
You
way.
go to an event and you have the money, but it's not liquid money, obviously. But if you have the money, if necessary,
Yeah.
Do you pay $400 to take a photo and get an autograph of the great Jim Morrison?
With Jim Morrison, if it's honestly, you're saying at $400, I'm laughing at that because I do believe that and Jim had no intentions to be around today. All right, let me get that out of the way. I'm speaking for his spirit right now, but hey, he wanted out when he wanted out. He wasn't going to be around today with this superficial horse shit. Um, I would say if he could easily get a line down the block for $1,000 a photo, easily.
But
What?
my point is, like you
Yeah,
said, I wouldn't pay. You said I would never pay that kind of money. But I'm asking you, if someone was that important to you and you did have the funds, obviously you could use the funds for something else. But would you spend that money to meet your idol, Jim Morrison?
on the well, understand too that to me, if you're talking about AJ Lee and I know what you mean, I do know what you mean, but I got to say this: if you're talking about AJ Lee and paying money for her or paying money for Jim Morrison, it's like Beethoven and her. I'm like, no,
But brother, my point is, like,
I would pay.
your Jim Morrison
I
could be
would.
some little girl's AJ Lee. But the point
Right,
is, when do you like realize that you don't have to destroy everybody to make money? I
right,
mean, I
right,
understand this is a capitalist society, and God knows I love
right.
capitalism,
Well,
but but
I get it, man, but understand that this line of thinking is what got this greediness is what got Buddy Holly killed. It's what got Leonard Skinner killed. All right, with the bookings and the bad planes and trying to log jam 8 cities into fucking 4 nights and it's this greedy thing that's been going on forever. AJ Lee is not worth that kind of money. If you asked me today to answer your question, if Jim Morrison was charging $400, yes, I would. I would.
and
But
there's
that's
nothing.
Jim
And by the way,
Morrison.
there's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
Right,
Christ Almighty, I flew to Florida to go see Hogan at his beach shop. You know what I mean?
right.
And you know what? It was worth every single penny to me,
And you know
every
why?
dime.
But again, you know why? And I do think we should address this. This is why the AJ Lee charging $500 is so offensive. Hulk Hogan is Hulk Hogan. Jim Morrison is Jim fucking Morrison. All right, AJ Lee is not that. She's not Charlotte fucking Flair. 20 years from now, if Charlotte's going to charge $500 a picture, she's a fucking legend. I get it, and some will pay it. You know what I'm saying? But if you're breaking down AJ Lee's impact on the business compared to what a Morrison did or a Lennon did in their business or a Hogan did in AJ's business, AJ's got no business charging that kind of money.
Fair
So yeah,
enough.
you're right. It's a hack. It's a hack. It's a hack. Hulk Hogan deserves every last penny he gets. He's Hulk Hogan. Same for
Well, back,
Flair. I didn't want to see Flair wrestle at 73, but a lot of people apparently did.
right.
Whatever. What are you going to
Back to the
do?
original thing, though, when he was at
Yeah.
Fanatics Fest, where he was asked that what he enjoys about passing his knowledge on to
Punk.
rising stars,
Punk.
Punk.
Yeah.
Increasingly, Punk first pointed out how he believes that the industry has done itself a disservice by shutting their own talent pipeline, thanks to no longer having regional wrestling territories. I got to tell you, our friend Phil is kind of reborn.
Yes.
He then made an example of citing the NBA and suggesting how things would go without college basketball. Eventually, you're just going to be hiring people playing street ball because there's no programs in place to know that and teach the fundamentals. What do you think
Yeah.
about that comment, dude?
I think it's right. I think he's right. I'll tell you why too. And you guys might know this story, Mike. You might have read it in the last 6 months. I can't remember his name, but there was a Yankee farmhand that had been let go, and he was let go a couple of years ago. And he finally spoke up about what he wasn't taught in the minor leagues with the Yankees. What the fundamentals were not practiced. Everybody swang for the seats. There was no instruction on how to bunt, how to take an extra base, how to run bases properly, how to defend. I mean, there was none of this. He was like everything was about your launch angle and trying to hit a home run. And you wonder why when a guy hits 260 nowadays, he's third on his team in batting average. That's an embarrassment. When we were kids, if you hit 260, you hit at the bottom of the fucking lineup. You know what I mean? You were not a hitter, so it's crazy to me. Phil's right.
Can I interrupt you on one thing?
Yeah.
I'm watching a setup by Bruce, right? He's got his little setup. He's doing a great job producing. But you
Okay.
got a nice, beautiful Pharaoh Iron Maiden name, and he slops in Monte like a piece of shit. What is that all about, dude?
Is it in crayon? I can't see it because if it was like in
He might as
crayon,
well have done it in crayon for me. He must be like, fuck this guy.
that would have been funny though. If it was like in like purple crayon, like
Yeah, right.
Monopoly,
Written like that. Yeah,
that
it's
would
not a
be
bad
funny.
idea.
Bruce, see if you got a crayon font on that computer. That's
Wow, I'm
hilarious.
a little bit insulted, boy. I'll tell you.
Uh,
I'll tell you.
well, I
Listen,
appreciate the Pharaoh logo. That's for sure.
you know what?
Irons up.
You know what? That is a great logo.
Yeah, yeah. I can't
It's
go
just
wrong with the maiden name.
too bad mine's made in crayon. That's all.
Monte.
That's all I gotta say. Yeah, Monte, and the Pharaoh.
Oh, that's
Man, oh man.
hilarious.
All right, listen. So
Uh,
I was thinking about AEW, hence the title. We're not in Kansas anymore.
yeah.
That is the title of tonight's program.
All
And I
right.
was like, you know what? I'm going to name off wrestlers who went from the WWE to
Okay.
AEW.
I love
And
this,
you
Mike.
tell me
Mike, this
if
is a great job by you. I'm sorry to cut you like that, but this is awesome. That's a
so
great idea.
do you think maybe Bruce should have gave me a better title under my name instead of fucking crayon? What do you think?
Has he put it to crayon, or does it just still have
He's
that
probably
simple
working on
looking?
it right now in between
Okay,
taking
gotta put
bong
it to
hits.
crayon. I mean, and we
No,
need
I
some
got to tell you
flair.
something. Did you know Bruce must smoke a lot of weed, dude? How much weed do you think Bruce smokes?
Wow. I don't know. I mean,
What's
I
the
remember.
over and under? Jimmy, football season starting. What is the over and under? And by the way, in my man cave, I'm just looking to the right if I can share with anybody.
Yeah.
My doctor sent me the Cologuard where I have to do a poo poo in a box and send it off, for
Is
colon
it
cancer.
in a spirit box?
It's not. You know what, dude? I might use the colon box as the new spirit box.
Please don't.
By the way,
That
we
would
got
be
to bring
really.
Spirit back. But anyway, what is the over and under of Bruce smoking? I don't know, call a gram of weed. Is a gram a lot? I forget.
Graham is a couple of nice joints,
All right, let me
you
ask
know.
this: what's the over and under that Bruce smokes more weed than you?
Oh, there's no way. No, can't be.
So it's the
I,
under. It's under Pharaoh.
yeah, it's under Pharaoh. I'm averaging maybe a gram a day, but it's kind of lumped into my days off, really, to tell you the truth. So I keep it in check. Let's put it that way. They do have parameters here. There's only so much you can buy when you go to Weed Mart. I call it Weed Mart. I have a license. First of all, I have a license. Okay, you get into the Weed Mart, which is obviously not the name, but I love calling it Weed Mart, and they hand you a menu. But you have parameters. You can't be like, I'll take 7 pounds, man. And then like the next week you're back for another 7 pounds. It's nothing like that at all. It's restricted.
Yeah, but let me ask you something. With weed, like liquor, is there a tolerance? Like last night, I went to dinner for work with the president of the company, right? And by the way, he bought a bottle of fugitive wine, Jimmy. Its name of it's fugitive. I know.
I'm aware.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was wonderful. But he's a big time wine connoisseur. But
Okay.
what is the tolerance? Like, let me ask something. Do you think you have more tolerance for weed than Bruce?
I think everybody's wired differently, so it could be. It all depends. Look, I think that I'm in the minority. We've talked about this many times. I'm one of those people that when I get high, I'll write this life. When Bart gets high, he'll write this life. Like that's what we do.
So wait a minute. What
You know,
does Bruce write when he gets high?
Bruce writes, "This sucks." Monty's picking on me.
Or how about this? He writes Monty's name in a crayon. I'm high here, Monty.
With two E's,
I love
Monty.
him. All right, let's get back. So explain to me success or failure or why. You ready?
Sure.
Chris Jericho.
Oh boy, half of it is half. Now we just discussing the AEW time.
No, it's WWE stars who went to AEW.
I get it.
Success or failure. There's no
right.
kind of maybes. It's either
All right.
success or failure and why.
Overall, Chris Jericho's time in AEW for AEW has been a success because Jericho is still somebody who makes somebody turn the channel and keep him on. All right, maybe not you, but he has his fans. Still has his fans, man. And if I do see him, I don't turn him off. I lately I've shaken my head a lot and gone, Chris, man. But Chris's overall contributions to AEW have been a success, much more than not. So I would say it's been good for the company. Do I think that it's good for Jericho? It was in the beginning. It was fine. It was fine. Look, when you go to any territory, if you do a good job and you're still doing your shit and you still look well and you still wrestle well, fine, fine. Chris's early years in AEW were excellent. He did great, but now, no. Still overall, thumbs up, Mike.
I'm going to agree with you on that, Jimmy. I think it was a well needed move from the WWE, and he certainly put AEW on the map.
Yes,
Hard to argue with you on that, even though
yes.
this last year of Jericho to me
Torture,
has been
torture.
torture.
Yes,
Uh,
agreed.
John Moxley, formerly known as Dean Ambrose.
Uh, Another one, but much more, even more positive than Jericho. He's been great for the company. It's been great for him, and I'll tell you why. I do wish that this version of John Moxley would come back to rejoin the Shield at some point. You know, down you're going to see them in the ring one day. I'm telling you, that's going to happen. The Shield will happen someday. It will. Um, Moxley's been
Wait,
great
wait a
over
minute.
there.
Before you go further on Moxley,
Yeah.
do you think if Moxley became a free agent, he came back to the WWE, Roman Reigns would be up to going back with the Shield after probably the greatest run of, again, he's right behind my wall, one of the greatest of all time.
Right.
Isn't there a point where you're like, done that, not
No,
doing it again?
no, it's okay in that case because it's an NWO type thing. All right, I understand they have had different impacts on the business, these factions or whatever, but the Shield is probably the greatest faction that's churned out of WWE outside of the Bloodline in all of these years.
Right.
So, and the fact that now Roman has got his hands full and needs help, I'm drooling at the thought. I am drooling at the thought of as a wrestling, mark that I can be, and I'm not ashamed of it. I'm drooling at the thought of having the original Shield come out and go after the Gorillas of Destiny, and
My mind is working, and as you're speaking, I'm thinking about stuff. I wanted to ask you about this, and we'll continue on with what we're doing here.
right,
But what is your feelings when you see an athlete? You're a smoker, right? I get it. But when you
yeah,
see an athlete smoking, and I will tell you, I am shocked that Moxley smokes as much as he does.
I'm
Does
not.
that throw you off?
Nope, not at all. You know why? Because don't forget, the household I grew up in, most important athlete in that household was Joe DiMaggio. Joe
Right.
DiMaggio, there are dozens of pictures of Joe DiMaggio smoking in the dugout. I mean, hell, I've seen pictures of other famous athletes smoking in the dugout or on the sideline. Look, it's. You'd think logically it would get in the way of their breathing and stuff, but I can tell you this much: when I was a young man and I was catching for 20 years and playing doubleheaders in hot August sun, and some seasons playing over 120 games, so I know I was playing almost a major league schedule as far as games. I was smoking and I was running. I was the fastest guy on the team. I had endurance. Look, it's not something that you're going to dare try when you get older. I don't recommend it, but some bodies are just meant to take it. It's just another thing to them,
I
and
understand. I understand.
and I've said it before, in a world where Richard Simmons is now dead and Keith Richards is smoking a cigarette as we speak.
I was just
You know,
asking you, does it give you a weird feeling? Because sometimes it's just like when I see an athlete smoke, I'm like, whoa, that's
right,
kind of weird. And
right,
Moxley, I see so many pictures, and I'm thinking about
yeah,
his wife too. His
mhm,
wife seems so very clean cut, and he seems so dirty, for lack of a better term. I
okay.
don't even understand that
It's it's
matchup.
it's opposites attract, and it'll probably last forever. How's that sound?
All right, before we continue on, because this is a great subject, we haven't done
Yeah,
this in a while because we've been
yeah.
super busy. I want to put name out to people, the family that's in the room tonight. We got Jason Morning. I love that guy.
Hey, what's up?
Foxhole Willie. Let me tell you something.
Foxhole.
Best
Foxhole.
name around. Love that name.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, you got Bruce, who is doing a
Bruce.
great job producing. RJ Hudson,
RJ.
the great Benny Scala, who does his
Ah,
baseball show with you. Dan and Benny in the ring. True crime. I was telling Benny, because Benny's, a little older than us, not much, but older than us, and he's very competitive. And I was telling him the other day, you know, in this world, let's just use wrestling podcasts, for example. If I had to
yeah.
ask you, Jimmy, how many wrestling podcasts do you think are out there?
Hundreds,
Hundreds of thousands.
probably thousands.
So Benny's guess was like maybe 5,000. I don't know if that's high, low, whatever. But the
Sure.
point of the matter, him and Dan chart every day in a country, no matter what country,
Hmm.
and it's only the top 300. So I said to him, there might be 299 more popular wrestling shows than yours, but just think your show is more popular than 4,000 other ones. That's not bad for two
Yeah.
guys that said, hey, let me do a wrestling podcast, right?
No, it's great. It's great. Hey, what is one of the highlights we always bring up on people's resumes? If they ever charted in the PWI 500, hell, if you were on that list, you've done something.
Damn straight. Damn
So there it
straight.
is.
And
There's it
again,
right there.
that's why I'm giving a shout out to the family because these are the guys that come in every day whenever there's a show on and they support us. They're members. They do mean the world to me. And by the way, I do have to send some shirts and stuff like that. Beth is in the house.
Up there.
Who else we got here? We got the First Lady, Maria Davis.
Maria.
We got Mitch Seinfeld. He is. I gotta tell you, you know what a big fan I am of Mitch. I talk to him like every day. I just enjoy him. Mr. President Phil DeCesare, who is also in True Crime, and he appears on many other shows. Phil is a genius. I was actually watching Phil's interview with ESO with fuck their names was Tanaka and John Riccardi in the house. Hey John, how are you?
What's up?
And then
What's up,
Jason
John?
Kieser is here.
Hey.
I love it. Anyway, back to it. Sting.
Wow. Not necessary. I know that that'll probably ruffle some Sting lovers, and I'm sure it was nice for them to see Sting in his, you know, farewell tour. Hopefully, it won't be like a Kiss farewell tour where it goes on for 12 years. But okay, I guess. Do I think it helped the company? Having Sting's name, I guess. But to me, it was very yawn. I don't care. I didn't really care much about it. Um, as a company, sure, you want to have him there. I don't think he did anything to hurt them. But I certainly don't think he did anything to help them. He never put anybody over, right? He remained undefeated during his entire time there.
So success or failure, Jimmy?
I'm going to go with failure. I wouldn't have done it.
Wow.
I wouldn't have done it. What's the point? There was no point to it.
I think I probably got paid a lot of money, right?
Sting was there to put Darby Allin over, and I'm never going to be invested in Darby Allin. The same way the late great Kevin Sullivan never got invested in Orange Cassidy. Darby Allin does nothing for me.
Good deal.
What was the point? I didn't see.
All right,
point.
Ready? Paul White.
Oh, that's a big fat F. That's a failure. And there's no point in bringing him if you're not going to do anything with him. And what are you going to do with him at this point? Just stop now, right?
You know what? I don't even know. It was almost like, Vince doesn't want anything to do with these guys anymore. They really lead no value. So I'm just going to take them and make an amazing discovery.
So far, we've got a thumbs up for Jericho and Moxley, and that makes sense with their contributions to the companies. But the other two, Sting and Big Show, forget about it. Go on.
Well, it's going to get worse. Mark Henry.
This is even less than Big Show. What's the point of this? There's no point of this. I don't understand.
And by the way, I gave Mark Henry a lot of props a couple of weeks ago. But let's be honest. Mark Henry left AEW because I think he didn't feel respected, number one. And let's be even more honest. Fucking Triple H signed his son. So he got away from AEW because he would come on busted open all the time, just talking how great AEW is all the time. And, and then eventually you start to see him wane on their again, he's no longer with them. So now they don't do anything right. So again, more agendas by Mark Henry, which I kind of find just a joke. What is the WWE signing his fucking son for anyway? Like for what?
I have no idea. But the Mark Henrys and Big Shows are the epitome of what. Look, at the end of WCW's days, what did they have? They had a bunch of guys that they wanted to push, meaning Vince Russo, but there was nothing in these guys. You didn't push them the right way, and there was nothing to even push. And you had a bunch of veterans who were there resting on their past laurels. I stopped watching. I don't watch AEW for the most part for this reason. I do not need to see a regurgitated WCW where somebody's got a lot of money and is throwing it around and the end product is not delivering. So to me, Show and Henry are.
Let me ask you. I got to ask this question now. We had Damian Kemp on, right? You release Damian Kemp, but you're going to sign Mark Henry's son. I'm not getting it.
Well, to be honest, on the surface, I actually do get that. All
Really?
right, because well, think about it. When they signed Gable Stevenson, there was a reason to at least be interested. True or false? True. He had the background.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Let's give him a shot. Damian was there. Why would you think Damian was there? Damian was signed there too because of his association to his brother. I have to assume. No, you know.
Fair. Yeah.
So I mean,
But
honestly, if
he
I'm
was a
choosing
high
between,
level amateur wrestler, though,
I
Jimmy.
understand that. I totally get that. But if it's a choice between, notice I'm not saying Gable Stevenson. If it's a choice between Damian Kemp or seeing what Mark Henry's son has to offer, I'm probably going to opt with the seeing what Mark Henry's son has to offer because he is the son of Mark Henry, and Mark Henry did do a few things. We're not fans of his, obviously, either of us. That's fair to say. But I would be intrigued to see what his son might be able to offer. That would be more interesting to me.
All right, here's a tough one. So Mark Henry, an outstanding unanimous no, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Cody Rhodes.
The smartest thing AEW ever did, and the dumbest thing the AEW ever did. Smartest thing was just having Cody Rhodes in the room and having him be a part of in the beginning and having him be a part of everything he did for the company. And he was great in the ring and he did tell great stories and he was good for their ratings and he's a fucking Rhodes. So yeah, that was great. The dumbest thing? Pissing Cody off. Obviously, it'll never be told whatever the hell happened over there, but I'm very sure that Cody looked at his bank account and was like, "See you later. Thank you. Fuck you. Bye." He obviously got the offer he couldn't refuse. And Tony Khan should have done anything in his power financially, anything and everything to keep him from going back to the WWE. Because
Well, wait
now
a
we
minute.
see, now what a mistake that was.
Let me counterpoint you on that. I think
All
Cody
right.
was an epic failure in AEW.
I don't.
Cody, I'll still stick to it. Cody was not good enough to carry that organization. Look, I'm not trying to put Roman over, but I'm going to put Roman over. Roman
Right.
Reigns made Cody Rhodes.
Right.
If there is no Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes coming to WWE would be an epic failure. And I'm telling you right now, I called it a year ago. He's still very popular, but I see the Cody Rhodes train kind of slowing down now.
Right.
The real Cody Rhodes issue is going. Look, dude, I understand what you said. He's a great face. I get it. But a couple of weeks ago, I think it was with Diamond Dallas Page, you said you thought he was the greatest face since Bob Backlund.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think he was a better face than Bob Backlund, or just the greatest face since Bob Backlund?
I think I'm talking about his on-screen character presentation. He's the most wholesome since Bob
Gotcha.
Backlund. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. They are two totally different kinds of faces, but Cody is the strongest face champion that I can remember since Bob Backlund. And that says a lot. Listen, Cody Rhodes is a genius. All right. His father was a genius. All right. They might have made mistakes along the way, but they didn't make too many of them. All right. Cody Rhodes was the reason why AEW was even born. All right. It would not have happened without Cody fucking Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is I know it's going to make you uncomfortable, but 20 years from now, when we're looking back on this, Cody Rhodes is a fucking legend, bro. He's a legend.
I'm not going to disagree with you.
He has become the ultimate total package, and
he has maneuvered himself into that position. I agree with you.
Yes.
But now, all I'm trying to say to you is Cody Rhodes, just as Cody Rhodes, could not carry a company.
Agreed.
The WWE took that chess piece and they moved. With Cody Rhodes, they were perfect. They did everything exactly right.
I get it. They even made him go through a 2-year chase.
Right.
Not even a couple of months like in the old days when the face would eventually catch up and hold the belt for a week or two. Something. They would have made him go through it. Now, understand this, though, Mike. I agree with you that Cody Rhodes wasn't enough to carry ratings on screen for AEW because there are other factors involved. It's not just Cody. But Cody's in-ring stuff over there was great. He was great for that company. He was the reason that company was even fucking born. All right? So Tony Khan became such a mark for himself and stealing all these retreads from WWE that he didn't even realize by letting the cornerstone go, he was ass fucking himself. And I will stand by that.
All right, here you go. Here's a question. Here's a big question to you then.
Yeah.
Is Cody Rhodes more popular than CM Punk?
No.
There you go. I agree.
What are we saying though? You're talking about one of the most polarizing, most popular figures in the last 20 years. CM Punk. I know he's even blown you away with the WWE's response toward him since his return. He's CM Punk, bro. He's CM Punk. He did things in this business that just the reason why AEW was born. Cody might have been the trigger factor, but without Punk doing what he did all those years ago and telling Vince McMahon, fuck you, and telling Triple H, you big nosed bastard, piss off, I'm doing my thing. Without him, you don't have any of this because
Agreed.
he's the original trailblazer. He's the squeaky wheel. He's the king of all of that. And I still love him. But what does
And
that say?
it's still
You know?
amazing after all this time, he still has it.
Right.
I got to tell you, Phil's kind of won me over a little bit.
He should.
He's done
He
some
should.
very good work here. All right, so back to Cody Rhodes,
Yep.
AEW, success or failure?
It's a success, absolutely. There wouldn't have been AEW without Cody fucking Rhodes. And I'll tell you what Cody has done, and you're right. Cody, when he was brought to WWE, was put into, and he made sure that happened too. You know, you got to do some manipulating backstage.
Sure.
He was put into the perfect role, and he became Batman, the Roman Reigns Joker. And he was the perfect Batman. He still is.
All right.
So to Cody Rhodes, that's a thumbs up for his time in AEW. That'd be
I agree with you. We're in total agreement. Right. Christian Cage.
Okay, here's where this could get interesting. All right. Christian Cage has shown in his time in AEW that he is one nefarious, evil, twisted guy. And I like that. Have I gravitated towards him? No, because the company turns me off. That's not his fault. I think that Christian Cage has done a great job in AEW. He's been an absolute brick, and he's shown much more of his mic skills than he ever did over in WWE. So I feel that the AEW version of Christian is a winner, even though I'm not interested. That doesn't matter if I'm not interested.
Right.
I'm looking at it from a professional perspective and judging him on his talent and what he's done with his character since he's been there. He's Christian in the ring. He's solid. What am I going to say?
Dude, and you got to think honestly, the guy never wrestles. So
right.
Yeah, I say success. Never wrestled. He's one of the better heels in pro wrestling, if not the best heel in AEW, right? So hard to argue. Hard to argue.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep, we're being fair
Matt
about this.
Hardy.
Failure. Absolute failure. You know, I mean, we've all been waiting for the greatness of Delete since the days of the greatness of Delete. The return to WWE years back was anticlimactic, and anything he's done since has been anticlimactic. It's not the same. He had lightning in a bottle. I guess Vince plays into this, that when he came back, that was lightning in a bottle. He was over. It was way over. But Vince, for some reason, chose not to really run with that very much. You know, I guess Vince figured I already have Bray Wyatt. What do I need two kooks running around for playing?
By the way, you and I went to Coliseum. Well, we call it the Coliseum. I forget what it's called now, but we saw that tag team. Remember that day? It was like Hardy and Bray Wyatt.
We were shaking our heads at each other from like the different sections. Like this is bad.
It was bad. Yes, I agree. Failure. Here's a tough one. Miro, formerly known as Rusev.
That's not tough at all. What a miserable failure.
What a mess. What a mess. Not a failure for him. He's playing video games, making tons of money, right? But what a failure.
Absolute disaster. And
this guy, sorry, Jimmy, this guy had a Gunther-like career being set up for him.
Right.
And he is now, look, in the end, I understand it's always about money, but I would think if you're an athlete, which these guys are, or women are, you kind of want to be etched in the grains of history of being one of the all-time greats. I think that's the ultimate goal. And Rusev is now nothing forevermore.
Yeah, I agree. It's a shame. I mean, the guy was coming out in a tank against John Cena at WrestleMania, wasn't he? I mean, what happened? You know, Rusev Day was very popular. He was very over. You know, but he wanted to go see what he could do somewhere else, and shame on the company for not realizing what they had anyway. Failure, total failure, Mike.
Dustin Rhodes, Goldust.
Overall, that's a failure. I can't give that a
wow, pass. Really?
I mean, listen, he had the one great blood match, right? I mean, there was that one great match. Okay, so what else? What else are you going to give me? You know what else? What else has Dustin Rhodes done over there that makes me like really want to talk about it?
To
No,
you, should Dustin Rhodes have hung it up right after Goldust on his last round as Goldust with the WWE with
I
Booker
would have.
T and all that?
No. I mean, I would have hung it up after I had the blood match. That would have been it. That would have been okay. I proved my point. You can go home now. You know, there's a point. I don't know why it happens to so many of them. Very few, like Rocky Marciano, was such the oddity that he walked away 49-0. You know,
Mm.
who does that? Nobody does it. Everybody hangs around too long. You know, I mean, they hang around too long. Orton, Hogan, that should have been the last we saw of Hulk Hogan. But we had to sit through Hogan in TNA with Dixie Carter holding onto his leg as he walks off the ramp. That's not the last memory I want of Hulk Hogan.
I'm going to go with Dustin Rhodes as being a success.
Well, you're nicer than I am.
Listen, not a tremendous success, but not a failure either. How about, you know what, we said it's either one or the other. I'm going to go with your failure. Yeah, you know, you can't choose. Here's a tough one,
Yeah.
and I'm already going to open up with this and say it was a failure. Brody Lee, Luke Harper.
All right. I don't, you know, this is the age old. Unfortunately, death gives us, you know, death gives you a little bit more of a boost in the memory. Unfortunately, it's just a fact. But I feel like Brody Lee's career in AEW, and considering his untimely demise, it was a success up to that point because he was doing well as an individual. He had a good character. He was leading a stable of people basically. It was an improvement for him. Uh, do I think it was helping the program? It wasn't hurting it. I don't remember Brody Lee being a down part of AEW's
You know,
presentation.
again, this goes back to what I discuss with you all the time, right?
Right?
He came from the Wyatt family, one of the great factions of all time. When he
Yeah.
went to AEW under the Brody Lee, you know, guys,
Yeah.
they were
Right.
really trying to push him. I remember him when he had that match with Dustin Rhodes. If that's what it
Uh
was.
huh.
But in the end, it's like anything else. It's like he's remembered fondly because he died.
Right.
No other reason. It would be fair to say that Brody Lee would be another pimple on the AEW's ass if he would have lived.
Right. That's very possible. That's very possible. At this point, years later, how do we know he wouldn't have been buried like Aleister Black, who was probably going to be on this list?
That's
So how do
pretty.
we?
Yeah.
So how do we know that? We don't know that, but you're probably right. I could see that happening. But all I can judge is the time that he was there and what he was doing and how he was doing when he demised. And I think that he was a success over there.
I'm going to
Uh,
go with failure. I can't, you know, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just going to go with failure because I don't
right.
think his untimely demise, you know. All right. How about Pac, formerly known as, now he's Neville. I'm sorry, but Pac.
You know, it's funny with Pac. He got the respect he wanted. He got the bookings he wanted. He got major matches. So on the surface of his character, he did better. Uh, did the company really benefit much from it in the end? Not really. You know, but I don't want to say he's been a failure, but he's just so indifferent. It feels like an incomplete,
Well,
if
let me
that
let me
makes
ask
any.
you this question: is it
Yeah,
better to be a Ricochet mid carder your whole WWE? Is it better to be a Johnny Rods or a Neville or Pac in AEW?
I'd probably want to be a Neville or a Pac in AEW.
Really? Wow.
Yeah,
I'd rather be a Johnny Rods. I'd
I
rather be a
well, is
Ricochet.
Johnny Rods is Johnny Rods even making the money that Neville would be making in
No,
AEW?
well,
Yeah,
my
Tony
point
Khan throws
is,
money around.
let me put it this way: would you rather be a Dolph Ziggler, right? Upper mid card to upper, like lower, middle, upper mid card, never going any further. Once in a while, they'll throw you a title, or be a Pac in
That's a better
AEW.
that's a better comparison. I'd rather have Ziggler's career.
Me too.
But it
Agreed.
depends on it depends on the examples you're giving, you know? It really does. It depends on the examples you're giving. Johnny Rods looked like a main event talent, but never got paid that way and never got booked that way in WWF. Ziggler, at least at one point, was world champion
So
before he
wait, so now I'm
came.
going to ask you a question: who's made more of a mark in wrestling history, Johnny Rods or Pac?
Oh, that's not even close. It's Johnny.
There you go.
Yeah, isn't that weird how that works? The back of the baseball card and the paycheck says Pac, but the impact says Johnny. That's very
There you go.
interesting.
That's crazy, right?
It is crazy. It's a good point too.
Good conversation, Jimmy. It gets even
Yeah.
tougher though. FTR, the revival.
Ugh. They're in the same boat as Pac to me. I think that I think that they're what they've done over in AEW has been excellent. It's just I can't say it's a failure. I don't feel it's a failure what they've done over in AEW. You know, I mean, it depends on where you were at in your booking perception from the fans and where you went to. That's why I gave Moxley a thumbs up and why I gave Danielson a thumbs up and why I gave Cody a thumbs up. But I think it applies to FTR. I do. I think FTR's career in AEW has been better than their career in WWE. I don't think they've done anything.
I'm going to give them a success, Jimmy. I mean,
Yeah,
I thought they were terrible in the WWE, and at least they were something in AEW, or they are something, I guess.
right.
But again, this is another team that maybe if they would have listened to Vincent Kennedy and McMahon a little bit and stopped trying to do things their
Agree.
way,
I
things
agree.
could have been a lot different for them.
I agree. I agree. But would you want to be the Street Profits who have done great things in the WWE and feel so blasé? Would you want to be them? I'd rather be FTR. I got to admit, you know. I mean,
That's a tough, Jimmy. That's a real tough one, man. I got to
you
be
see
honest
how
with you.
it goes both
That's
ways.
a tough one. I would rather be the Street Profits.
No.
And if anyone doesn't remember, the FTR tells a story that they came out, I think, out of a WrestleMania match or whatever, and they were such a good match or whatever pay-per-view match it was. And they went to Vince and they said, "What did you think?" And he goes, "Yeah, I think you're the Brain Busters."
Right. Right.
And that was Vince's way of saying, "You just good wrestlers, and that's all."
And what? Right.
And what?
Well, that's Vince. That's Vince for you. That's why it's WWE, Ian Entertainment.
There you go.
You know, the Street
So
Profits are characters.
I'm going to go
Fans still pop for
success
the
on
Street
that.
Profits. Fans still pop loud for the Street Profits, but like they feel so blasé to me. It's just like, eh.
I understand. Listen. The street Profits still got meat on the bono. It ain't over yet. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
With one thing I always say about WWE talent, whenever I think guys suck,
right,
something's done with them. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you, I'll enhance that point. There was a point in Sami Zayn's career where he was just so blasé, and then look what happened. You know,
and the funny thing is, Jimmy, and I know how much you love it. It's that WrestleMania match with all those guys from that show. One of the greatest matches I ever saw in my life. I am sorry, I still to this day love that match.
Johnny Knoxville. That was some great shit. That was great shit.
Sean Spears, Ty Dillinger.
Failure, absolute failure. Why'd you even bring him in? What were you trying to accomplish with him? Then I saw him back on NXT. I don't even know what he's up to. It's like, nah. His time was when he was doing the 10 spiel back in WWE, and they didn't run with that, probably because they didn't feel like he had enough on the meat on the bone, as you would say. You know,
Jake Hager, Jack Swagger.
Oh, come on, that's a you, Jeff. Jack Swagger is just a dud. You know, he's just a dud. That's all there is to it.
All right, Daniel Bryan.
That's been a success for them. It's been a success for him. It's been a success for them. He's putting on his 10-star matches, giving Dave Meltzer a boner, I'm sure. But I never ever want to hear, though, and I've said it a million times, I never ever want to hear about his headaches or his concussions ever again. I don't ever want to hear about Vince did this or Vince did that. The AEW fans love the fact that he's killing himself. He's probably not going to be able to do the alphabet 20 years from now. You know, whatever, you know. I mean, he's great. He's a legend. He's fucking great. He's a great wrestler. I say thumbs up.
Me agree. I think he's done. He reminds me of Kurt Angle when Kurt Angle went to TNA. He's done a good job.
Right. I agree. That's good.
CM Punk.
Success for them. Absolute success for them. And Punk remained a lightning rod the whole way through, whether it was miserable times for him or not, didn't matter. He got their ratings up to respectable numbers, made it a conversation at least. You know, when you're getting over 1 million people, well, it's obvious you must have CM Punk on the program.
Here's my envisionment, Jimmy.
Yeah.
CM Punk is the what chant for AEW, right? He was hot. He did great for them, but his eventual leaving destroyed that company.
I
It'll never be the same.
It was the one to me. It's the 1-2 punch. Yes, Punk was obviously the big shot, but the body shot was Cody, and the uppercut was Punk, and
Yeah,
it's a Tyson combo right there.
love it, love
They
it.
completely got their asses handed to them.
That's a great analysis, dude. But overall success for AEW.
Yeah, absolutely. More people got to know who the fuck they were because of CM Punk. They should be kissing his ass till the end of time. They were lucky he even worked there.
This one's easy. Aleister Black.
Oh, what a failure. And what a shame, too. Because Aleister Black, then again, as Bart always called him, and you do remember this, Aleister Kick.
Yes, yes.
Because that's what Aleister Black does. He kicks somebody, and that's that.
Look, the dude's a failure in the WWE and is a failure in AEW. I'm sorry, the guy isn't a quarter of what his wife is, and I mean that.
It's an F. Yeah, I agree. Total F.
All right, this is where, when it was happening, me and Jimmy went head to head, and I got to give the Pharaoh a lot of credit because he was right. I'm shocked. I'm shocked, but this next upcoming people, it's like, all right, Saraya, formerly known as Paige.
Hell yeah. Big fat F.
My God, Jimmy. You know what? Remember when they signed? I'm like, this is huge, huge. Yeah. I don't know what happened. I don't get it. What happened?
There's nothing in the tank. That's what happened. They signed a shell of a legend, a WWE women's wrestling legend, which Paige has become.
By the way, I appreciate the fact that you call her a legend. You recognize her as a legend because she is.
Paige is great. Paige is one of the most important reasons there was a women's movement at all. You take Paige out of the equation when she came. Remember her debut, man, when she came in and just took the leg out and won the title like right away. Come on, Paige was great. Paige put asses in the seats. Paige was a magnet for controversy.
So you just think AEW signed the name, not realizing there was it was a Willie Mays. Back to the beginning of the show, was it a Willie Mays thing?
Right, and she wasn't able to do a Willie Mays because the moment Willie Mays walked into that Shea clubhouse, they were like, Willie Mays is in the fucking dugout. And that made the team even better. And the manager, Yogi Berra. You got Yogi Berra and Willie Mays in your dugout. You don't think you're going to contend?
Right. No, you're right.
You're going to contend. Paige didn't have that. Paige walked into a bunch of misfits running a company with a super mark with cocaine up his nose. Whoops.
So Paige, a major failure.
Yes, absolutely.
By the way, she lost last night on a frigging AEW last night on Dynamite. She lost a straight up television match to Toni Storm. I was like, oh my God. Wow. How someone has fallen. It's like, what the hell? All right, here's a tough one. And this is another one where I said, 7 months before it even happened, I said, this can put AEW over the hump. Mm-hmm. Once again, I'm wrong. Mercedes Moné, the most highest paid women's wrestler in professional wrestling history. Can I just start one thing? I want to say anything before you answer. I will say this. When Mercedes was in the WWE, you could spot problems in her game. When you saw her, and I'm not talking about her wrestling. I'm talking about just her overall mic skills.
Right.
But whoever was writing her stuff knew her holes and covered them up fairly well. To a point where you could notice them, but she still was very popular.
Right.
AEW, they don't know what to do with her because she just sounds like a mess, Jimmy. On the mic, in the ring, it sounds so plastic, so fake. I mean, go ahead, Mercedes Moné.
This is what happens when you allow the wrestler to have 100% of the authority over their character and what they're going to say and how they're going to do it, and the wrestler doesn't really fucking know anyway. Now, if you defer to Hulk Hogan and Hulk Hogan knows exactly what he wants to do and how he wants to do it, I trust Hulk Hogan. All right, but you're bringing in fucking Sasha Banks, the human torpedo waiting to break her neck. All right, you know that she's not that great on the mic. This is not Charlotte Flair on a microphone. What do you know? And you let it, she's clearly getting carte blanche. No one's telling her no. You can see it that she's just doing what she thinks is right, and what she thinks is right is wrong.
Dude,
She has been a nightmare.
it's almost like this when she speaks. It's almost like, well, you know the WWE, right? They script their wrestlers, right? We all know this,
Sure.
right? It's
Yeah.
almost like she's reading the script, but she goes real like, okay, when you watch a podcast, we'll use Vince Russo, who will be on the show, for example. If you
Mm-hmm.
listen to
Mm-hmm.
Vince Russo, when he speaks, because he's by himself, he goes very slow. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like when you're
Right.
reading a script, it's like,
Right.
Jimmy,
Right.
what do
Right.
you think? And they
Right.
extend the words, right?
Right.
Because they're, in their
Right.
mind, they're processing
It
this script.
it comes
She's doing this live on television,
it
and
it
it's awful.
it comes across as plastic, and I hate to point this out, but on like I think it was SmackDown this week, there was a bit where Tiffany was throwing a celebration party for Nia, okay, and they started talking, and it was terrible. Their exchange between each other was plastic. You could see that they were just doing memorized lines without any feeling, and the exchange was very amateur to me. To me, I saw it. I'm like, that's terrible. Thankfully, it didn't go on too long, and someone else crashed the ring. I'm trying to remember who it was. Was it Mia Yim? Somebody crashed the ring, and broke up a really bad promo. Thank God. But this is the problem with her. She's awkward. She feels fake, plastic. Her skills are coming across awful, and she doesn't have the same vibe. It's
And
not the
by the way,
same.
she's getting beat on a mic by, Britt Baker. Britt Baker,
Oh,
who couldn't be in the WWE. You're talking about Mercedes Monet, who's a pro wrestling legend, is
right.
getting ripped apart on the
Well,
mic.
well,
Like,
well,
this should never be happening.
well. Why don't we call it like it is? Britt Baker's fucking great on a mic.
Dude, I'm telling you what, I love Britt Baker, don't get me wrong. But we talked about this before.
Yeah.
WWE women's wrestling is so
Hmm.
far ahead of AEW's women wrestling.
Yes.
It's
Agreed.
like it's like the AAA against, and as good as Britt Baker is, if she came to the WWE, they would chew her up and spit her out. And
I
I
think so.
understand what you were talking about Tiffany and Nia, but you know
Yeah.
what? I'm sorry. Nia has better mic skills than Britt Baker, and Nia is probably one of the weaker women when she
Really,
speaks.
I don't feel that. Why do I not feel that way about Britt Baker? Why do I feel like she's very good on the mic? I don't see a problem with her.
I think she's good, but I don't.
See,
I
I think
personally,
Nia's terrible. Nia's getting better, but Nia's still not good. And
Nia gets her point across, and she gets
right,
you angry. She does what she has
right,
to do.
right.
Again, I'm not saying Nia is this great. She's got weaker mic skills. I'm not
She
disagreeing with you,
does.
but the fact of the matter is, though, if Britt Baker sounds so good on the mic because she's in AEW.
Right. You might be right about that. She does stand out compared to the rest of them, and she has for quite a while. And like you're saying, if she's the top of the food chain over there, as far as fan perception, keeping the channel where it is, they're in trouble.
They're in trouble, bro. And
Yeah.
last but not least, Tony Storm. And there's more, but I just made a list there. I would say overall, everybody's more failures than successes. On
Yeah.
this end, Jimmy, I'm going to go with Tony Storm. It wasn't happening for the WWE. I think she might have pulled the plug on herself too early.
Right.
Um, I know Luce loves her. I'm personally burnt out on the vintage Tony Storm act.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of like bleh to me, but
Okay. I'll give it a success.
yeah.
She's done way better for herself over there, and at least you get some snippets from the things she does when you see highlights and clips and comments and stuff. She's done fine, I just think that she was just one too many of in the sea over at WWE. She needed to go over there. That's it. It worked out for her over there. So I'm gonna give her a thumbs up.
That's fair. I agree with you. It's worked out. I'll just run through the quick matches because we got to get ready for Jim Brunzell at 9 o'clock. It's been a great conversation, Jimmy. Again, great job, Bruce. Great job producing. Let's hit a home run with the great Jim Brunzell. I think it's this weekend, this Sunday from England, Jimmy. Right? Just give me a quick, no explanation, just who's going to win or lose to the best of your ability. Swerve
What?
Strickland, Brian Danielson.
Oh, Danielson's career's on the line. He better win.
Okay, good. Mercedes Monet, Britt Baker.
Take the damn belt off Monet and tell her to go home.
It's not happening, though, I don't think.
I know it, but it should. Go on.
MJF, Will Ospreay.
Wow. Got to give it to
By the way,
MJF.
Will Ospreay should take some of that Tony Khan money and fix his fucking teeth. He looks like
that would be nice too, but he's a wanker. I'm going to go with MJF.
Tony Storm, Mariah May.
Tony Storm.
I'm going Mariah May. I think they're going to take the belt from Tony Storm.
Wow, that's going to really bring ratings. Go ahead.
The Young Bucks versus FTR versus the Acclaimed.
I hope they all lose.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Casino Gauntlet winner gets an AEW World Championship match.
Who gives a fucking rat's ass?
Jack Perry versus Darby Allin.
Jack Perry, oddly enough, I feel like, if they want to get even 3 more people to watch next week, they better keep the belt on Jack Perry.
I gotta tell you what, I love Jack Perry. I gotta be honest with you.
I like
the guy's 5'0" who weighs 10 pounds.
I want to see him come to WWE and give Punk a hard time. I actually do. Go ahead.
Chris Jericho versus Hook for the FTW Championship. If Hook loses, he can never challenge. He can never challenge Jericho again.
Wow, what a stipulation! Now, Mike, I don't know. I know I should have double checked with you, but they compared size, power and everything. In case Hook gets a hangnail or something, I'm supposed to replace him in that match. What do you think? You like my
Jimmy?
odds?
I tell you what, I would think you would do great. But there's just another example of AEW. They had some kind of ridiculous fire with Hook, and somehow they fucked it up again, man. Like, my God. It's like, what? Again, I never even understood the Hook thing, but you had something, and somehow you figured out a way to mess it up. I don't know how they do this. It's like they're just 0-4. If they were a baseball or football team, they would be the Jets or the Mets.
Hook's going to give Jericho a flying belly bomber and win.
I'll tell you what would make me interested. If Hook loses to Jericho, he can never challenge, and he gets his hair cut off, and he gets his hair shaven. How cool would that be?
Okay. Do you realize how ridiculous Jericho would look with that belly and a bald head?
How about this? Can some of these guys start hitting the juice? Really, I'm serious. I want everybody in the Monte the Pharaoh family to go to X and put hashtag AEW boys take the juice. What do you think?
Why not? Start a movement.
All right, Jimmy, I'll see you for Jim Brazil. I want to thank Bruce. Great job, Bruce. You did great. Pretty flawless. Well done, Jimmy. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I want to remind everybody we've got Jim Brunzell at 9 o'clock. And then next week, we've got the first time ever, the Glamour Girls.
Nice.
Next Thursday. And then the following Thursday, we've got the Masked Superstar.
One banger after another as Stu across the pond.
I just can't believe you just used the word banger.
Why not? I got friends in Wales.
Send us out, Jimmy.
Is this still This Week in Wrestling, Mike?
It is.
You've been watching This Week in Wrestling, and until next week in wrestling, stay tuned for Jumpin' Jim Brunzell. See you in a little bit. Later.
Oh.